Hi, this is Nishant from Pratham Education Foundation, one of the largest not-for-profits working in education in India for the past 25 years. And I have with me my colleague Annapoorni.
Hello everyone, my name is Annapoorni and I've been working with Pratham for the last 3 years and I support the digital innovations team at Pratham. And today's presentation, we would like to talk about learning to learn in 160 characters, which has been a major part of our COVID response.
Thanks, Annapoorni. In India, the school closures started from 24th of March, and across India, in one go, all the schools were shut down, and children actually were deprived of the learning opportunities that they had otherwise. Even at Pratham, we actually had to go through a lot of changes in our interventions and how we actually approached our program. We'll try to cover those in the next couple of slides. What is very important to understand first is the context of India. And that's what we have tried to highlight here, that uh, right from the date of 24th of March, all the schools were closed without exceptions, while urban and higher income families could actually depend on online learning and depend on working with their children through English and other available content. There was no such thing for the larger population of India, which was rural and dependent on Indic languages. The government schools were the ones who were caught off guard because they operate in regional languages and we did not have enough content for them to encourage learning at home. In this period, Pratham actually started looking outwards and we started partnering more and more with nonprofits and other governments, which we had always done. But this time the angle was digital. We partnered with learning platforms, various not-for-profits and governments to take whatever we were doing and the repository of content that we had to many more children and people across India. We actually took a multi-channel approach to make sure that the content reaches each and every one where there is a delivery mode possible. So rather than just depending on uh, smartphones or digital technology, we started right from simple calls. We had Pratham personnel calling children in the villages they were working in directly and trying to get some learning activities done with them. We had special partnerships where we used the interactive voice response systems where activity was preloaded and the parents had an opportunity to give a missed call and then get to hear the learning activity that they could do with their children. We loaded our content on various content portals across states because Pratham was creating content in 11 Indian regional languages and had one of the largest repositories of Indian regional language content. WhatsApp was a medium that we leveraged a lot, where we were able to send our digital content in packaged as a learning Annapoorni exercise. The activity was called Karuna Thodi Masti Thodi Padhai, which loosely translates into let's do some fun and some learning. We also developed programs for radio in partnership with some of the governments. We developed television programs which were broadcasted across states and across geographies. But the most innovative approach was to actually use SMS, where within 160 characters, we tried to fit a learning activity and then make sure that everyone who had a working phone, not a smartphone, a working phone, we can get some learning activities to them. This is a representation of what our activity looked like. So this is the WhatsApp activity. And you can see Karuna Thodi Masti Thodi Padhai. Let's have some fun and some learning is the theme of the message. And every alternate day, we used to send out activities which, with links to videos that the children can watch and do themselves. And this is the switch that Pratham took, where rather than working directly with groups of children, here we were working with families. And these are some of the pictures that you can see that we got back as a response on WhatsApp itself of the activities that the children did.
So when we started sending out these messages, WhatsApp was one of our first responses. And when we sent it out, we realized that many students did not have access to a smartphone. many parents didn't have. The smartphone penetration in most of our communities was around 40%, where 60% of our students didn't have any access to an internet-enabled device. So then we took a step back and we realized that we wanted to reach everybody. And that's why we went into basic phones. And the system that we used was, can we send learning content on basic phones through the SMS mode of communication? So almost we tried to reach out to every student, collect the phone numbers, and depending on who owned the phone, what type of phone, and whether they had access to a tablet in their community or not, we mapped out the entire process. The picture is here is how at Hamlet level we did the mapping, so that it gives an idea that every child was mapped to one digital device. Once that was done and we knew that SMS penetration was higher, we realized that we should translate the SMS in different languages, creating content in 160 characters for different subjects from math, language, science, English was an experiment in itself. And then to create those messages in 11 regional languages, because we wanted to ensure it could go to all communities that we were catering, was also a learning experience. So typically the flow of the activity went as such. We created the SMS or WhatsApp messages centrally, and then they were translated into 10 languages. After they were translated, they were sent to the district level, the block level, and finally to the person, Pratham person on the ground who was responsible to 5 to 6 villages. This person would then send it to the parents and the volunteers, and then it would reach the child. The innovative or unique aspect of the program is that we were not just doing content delivery, we were setting up a communication channel. So once the SMS message reached the students, they would be called by the cluster leader. They would have a conversation and they would understand whether the activity was difficult for them to do, easy for them to do, or where did they face any challenge, if any. So this is the kind of survey that we did on a regular basis to understand if all these messages were getting responses or not. So how many students were receiving the messages, how many calls were made, what were the challenges faced in receiving the message, and if they received the message, did they complete the activity? So we tried to do an end-to-end mapping of the entire initiative. These are two examples of those 160 character SMSs. The first one is a math one where we were trying to teach children how to learn to count. So we said that you have a bicycle in your village, find that bicycle and then count the number of spokes in the wheel. And through that, they were to learn counting. And many a times they would send us those responses back, which I'll show you in the next slide. And the second activity was a language activity where you had to pick a word like house and now find the first letter and then use the last letter of that first word to find another object in your house which started with that. So in a way, you were developing skills of how to relate to the objects around you from the language perspective. So that's what we did. I'll just play a quick video to
ಹಿಂದಿನ ಚಕ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ 36 ಕಡ್ಡಿಗಳಿವೆ.
Typically, that's how the activity was. We understood the limitation that we were creating content for 160 characters. So we always focused on the activity that would be derived from it. So most of the activities that we created were projects that the children could do off tech, as in it was not limited to the usage or the access to the device. We gave activities which were contextualized, things that they could find in the village with material that was available at home. I've already spoken about how the two-way communication or having a facilitator check on these content regularly on whether the children enjoyed or didn't enjoy an activity was important for us to keep generating this content. And we always kept the parents and the volunteers or the village community in mind while designing these activities, because they were the ones who were facilitating. So we wanted to know that whether they knew subject knowledge or not, they were able to support the activities that the children were doing. And most importantly, we just wanted to ensure that children were having fun and enjoying themselves when they were doing it. We created this for about 5 subjects, which is language, math, English, science, and geography, and for age groups right from 3 to 14. Now we have a big repository of this content in 11 languages, and we're also creating a how-to guide on how to create this SMS so that different organizations can use this to create content at their level and for the language that their learners are. Thank you.